My name is Yesika Salgado. I am a poet and a fat activist, born and raised in Los Angeles, but Salvadoran by birth.
And I'm Salvadoran American, as you know. I grew up right outside of LA. One thing I love and feel represented by is how much you represent like both aspects of the cultures you grew up in. Can you talk about like how both being Salvadoreña and being from Los Angeles like influences your work?
I always understood that El Salvador was home and LA was our second home. You know, everything was full of La Sonora Dinamita and our accent and all of that. I didn't know what it was like to not be around Salvadorans. My LA was we lived across the street from Los Globos that, those of you that are in LA, Los Globos is a landmark here, but they used to have a pupuseria downstairs called El Amanecer. So for us, we would have pupusas all the time because we would just go across the street. You know what I hate when people are like, what's the best pupusa place in LA? I'm like, I don't eat pupusas outside of my house because my mom makes them.
My mom doesn't make pupusas because we're from a part of El Salvador, the east side, they're not as popular actually. But you know, I just go to the pupuseria that I have like a relationship with, that I have like a special connection with. I noticed in your work that sometimes like you'll write and you'll use like Salvadoran words that only Salvadorans understand, or Central Americans, like El Cuervo from Machete is one poem. In one poem you use like words like vení instead of like venga. And I love those like little things.
I use words that are particular to El Salvador, like vení, and I use the word bicha at some point, and you know, I have a poem named Bayunca, and all of these things because we grew up with seeing other versions of Spanish normalized and not our own. I think the word bayunco is one of the most beautiful words, but it's one of the words that will make me feel like, oh, this person is someone I could have grown up with or I grew up with, because, you know, all your tías are always like, no seas bayunca, va a saludar, or like whatever. And so that's one of the quickest ways for me to transport home.
Do you have any words of encouragement for like up and coming Latinx poets?
You can't encompass all of Latinidad. We're not a monolith. It's not gonna happen. You can't write something that every single Latino, Latinx person is gonna connect with. All you could do is focus on your own story, and people will find themselves in different aspects of your story.